Commander Jin-Ho Park drifted through another quiet day on Outpost Horizon. Far from Earth, alone among the stars, he had learned to embrace the silence. 3 years had passed since his assignment to this remote station. Each day blended into the next, running tests, collecting data, and sending reports that probably gathered digital dust in some Earth Command database. The calm of his routine shattered when the sensor panel lit up with urgent warnings. Jin-Ho rushed to the console, his heart racing for the first time in months. An unknown ship was approaching, its flight path erratic. "Computer, open communications," Jin-Ho said, his voice steadied despite his excitement. Silence answered him on all standard channels. Only the emergency system picked up anything. A weak, garbled message in a language the translation matrix couldn't identify. The ship would miss the station by several kilometers unless he acted quickly. Jin-Ho hurried to the airlock where his EVA suit waited. His hands moved with practiced efficiency as he sealed the helmet and checked life support. Minutes later, he piloted the station's small rescue craft toward the mysterious vessel. The alien ship was unlike anything in Earth's records. Its hull gleamed with a silvery blue sheen that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. Strange symbols decorated its surface, not random damage but deliberate script that flowed like water frozen in midstream. "Beautiful," Jin-Ho whispered as he maneuvered alongside it. After matching speed, he extended the docking tube and secured it to what appeared to be an airlock. The systems linked with surprising ease, suggesting design compatibility that shouldn't exist between unknown civilizations. Jin-Ho stepped carefully into the alien vessel. The interior was dimly lit with soft blue lights that pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. The air tasted clean in his helmet, and his sensors showed an atmosphere remarkably similar to Earth's. In what must have been the control center, Jin-Ho found the pilot. She, the form seemed female, was secured in a seat before a panel of crystalline controls. Her skin was pale blue with patterns that glowed faintly, tracing what might have been veins or perhaps decorative markings. Her features were delicate and proportioned much like a human's, but with an elegance that seemed otherworldly. Long, silvery hair floated around her face in the low gravity. Jin-Ho checked her vital signs with his medical scanner. The readings were unusual but indicated she was alive, though unconscious. With care, he released her restraints and lifted her into his arms. She weighed less than he expected, almost weightless as he carried her back to his rescue craft. Back at Outpost Horizon, Jin-Ho placed her on a medical bed. His scanner showed the atmosphere from her ship wouldn't harm him, so he removed his helmet for better visibility while treating her. He administered a universal stabilizing agent designed to help most carbon-based life forms, and monitored her response. The alien's breathing steadied. Jin-Ho watched her chest rise and fall with relief. He hadn't realized how much he craved company, any company, until faced with the possibility of losing this unexpected visitor. Her eyes opened suddenly. They were the deepest violet, like twilight given physical form. Those eyes fixed on Jin-Ho's face, widening with what could only be described as shock. Her body tensed, and she pushed herself up slightly on the medical bed. "Impossible," she said in perfect universal standard, the artificial language created for trade between known species. Her voice was melodic, with an accent Jin-Ho couldn't place. "You are human." Jin-Ho nodded slowly, surprised she knew what he was. "Yes, I'm Commander Jin-Ho Park of Earth." The alien woman stared at him with a mixture of disbelief and wonder. Her luminescent patterns pulsed more brightly, creating waves of light beneath her skin. "Your kind exists only in legends," she exclaimed, her voice trembling. She reached out a slender hand toward him, but stopped short of touching his face, as if afraid he might vanish. "The ancient ones, the shepherds of stars. You are supposed to be myths, stories told to children." Jin-Ho frowned, confused by her reaction. Earth had limited contact with other civilizations by choice, but he hadn't expected to be considered mythological. "I assure you," he said with a small smile. I'm quite real. The alien woman slowly lowered her hand, her expression shifting from shock to something like reverence. My people have waited generations for proof, she whispered. I am Myre of the Celestial House. And you, human, have just changed everything. Jin-Ho felt a chill run down his spine. Something in her tone suggested that his solitary existence was about to become very complicated indeed. For better or worse, his days of quiet routine had come to an end. The alien woman sat up slowly on the medical bed. Her movements were fluid, almost like water taking shape. The blue patterns on her skin glowed brighter as she became more alert. I am Myre, she said, her voice steadier now. I am of the Meridian people. Jin-Ho offered her a cup filled with a blue liquid. His scanner had analyzed for ship's emergency supplies and helped him create something safe for her to drink. This should help you regain strength, he said. Myre accepted the cup with both hands, a gesture that seemed ceremonial. She drank slowly, her violet eyes never leaving Jin-Ho's face. You still look at me like I'm a ghost, Jin-Ho said with a small smile. Why do you think humans are legends? We've been traveling through space for hundreds of years. Myre placed the empty cup down carefully. The light patterns under her skin pulsed with what Jin-Ho was beginning to recognize as excitement. The shepherds of stars, the guiding ones. Her voice rose with emotion. Every Meridian child grows up hearing stories about humans. How you came from beyond the great darkness, saved our ancestors from the Red Death, and then disappeared like morning mist. Jin-Ho frowned. I don't understand. Earth has records of contact with many species, but nothing about your people. Over the next 3 days, as Myre regained her strength, they shared knowledge about their worlds. Jin-Ho showed her how to access the station's repair facilities, and together they began fixing her damaged ship. During breaks, they talked for hours. Jin-Ho searched Earth's historical database for any mention of her species. On the second day, he found something buried deep in the archives. The ESS Prometheus, he read aloud from the screen. An early exploration vessel. It went missing about 5,000 years ago during one of humanity's first journeys beyond our solar system. Myre moved to his side, her silver hair floating slightly in the station's lighter gravity. What happened to it? She asked. Unknown. The ship and its crew of 12 scientists were never found. It was one of space exploration's great mysteries. Jin-Ho scrolled through the sparse information. They were carrying experimental medical equipment and supplies. Myre's skin flashed with bright pulses. Yes, this matches our sacred history. She guided Jin-Ho through the text displayed on her own device, strange flowing symbols that her translator converted to universal standard. Our oldest writings tell of a time when the Red Death swept across our world, she explained. It turned skin crimson before killing its victims. Half our population died in 1 year. Then the sky opened, and beings with pale skin and dark hair came down in a great silver vessel. Jin-Ho listened, fascinated. The Prometheus crew. Myre nodded eagerly. They called themselves Terrans. They brought wondrous tools that could see inside bodies without cutting skin. They gave our ancestors a sacred liquid that healed the sickness. Within months, the Red Death retreated. They must have identified the disease and synthesized a treatment. Jin-Ho murmured. Standard medical protocol. Even then, the ancient texts say they promised to return when the stars aligned and the galaxy was ready for unity. Then they departed. No one has seen a human since, until now. Myre's expression turned serious. Jin-Ho, you must understand what your existence means. For 5,000 years, our religious leaders have taught that humans were spiritual beings, not creatures of flesh. Jin-Ho leaned back in his chair, trying to process this information. You're saying the Prometheus crew, a lost scientific expedition, became gods in your culture. Not gods, Myre corrected. Guides, shepherds who appeared when we most needed help, then left us to find our own path. Her luminescent patterns dimmed slightly. The High Council of Elders controls all information about humans. They teach that your kind are metaphorical beings, wise spirits who represent our potential, not actual living creatures. And anyone who claims otherwise, Jinho asked. Naire's eyes darkened. They face consequences. Some disappear. Others publicly confess their errors after time in meditation chambers. She touched Jinho's hand hesitantly. Your existence threatens everything they've built. Their power comes from being the only ones who can interpret the human teachings. Jinho understood the implications immediately. If word spreads that humans are real, the council loses control, Naire finished. The foundation of our modern social structure would crumble. Jinho moved to the observation window, looking out at the stars. What had been a simple rescue was becoming dangerously complicated. The Prometheus crew could never have imagined that their brief contact with a dying civilization would shape thousands of years of its development. Their medical assistance, routine for them, had become the cornerstone of an entire belief system. Is that why your ship was damaged? He asked suddenly. Were you running from something? Naire joined him at the window, her reflection ghostly against the blackness of space. I am a scholar of ancient texts. I found original writings suggesting humans were physical beings. When I presented my research, I was ordered to surrender it for purification. I refused and fled. She turned to face him directly. I never expected to find proof. Meeting you has changed everything, Jinho. Jinho realized that his lonely outpost was no longer the safe, isolated place it had been. Through no fault of his own, he had become a dangerous truth in a society built on carefully constructed myths. 5 days after Naire's arrival, Jinho noticed she was unusually quiet during their morning meal. She kept checking her personal device, a thin, translucent tablet that seemed to change shape slightly when not in use. Is something wrong? Jinho asked, pushing his empty plate aside. Naire's skin patterns flickered with what he now recognized as nervousness. She bit her lower lip, then slid the device across the table to him. I've done something that might cause problems, she admitted. I needed to tell someone about you. Jinho looked down at the screen. It displayed what appeared to be a social media platform. The interface was strange, but somehow familiar. Posts, comments, and reaction symbols flowed across the surface. This is Starstream, Naire explained. It connects users across thousands of worlds. It's like, she searched for a comparison, a message board for the entire galaxy. Jinho's blood ran cold as he saw what was on the screen. There was an image of him, taken while he was working on Naire's ship, clearly showing his human features. Above it was a headline. The alien woman gasped upon seeing me. Your kind exists only in legends. You posted this? Jinho asked, his voice barely a whisper. Naire nodded, her skin patterns dimming. 3 days ago. I thought maybe a few scholars would see it. I needed others to know the truth. Jinho scrolled through the post. The view counter showed an impossible number, billions of interactions. Comments poured in from species he'd never heard of, in languages the translator struggled to convert. This is bad, Jinho said. Very bad. Earth has strict rules about revealing ourselves. We don't broadcast our presence widely. It's why we've stayed away from galactic communities. Naire leaned forward. But why hide? Your people could be welcomed across the stars. The knowledge you could share. A piercing alarm cut through the air. Red lights flashed across the station. Jinho jumped to his feet and rushed to the command console. 3 ships just appeared at the edge of our sensor range, he reported, his fingers flying across the controls. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Their energy signatures are massive. Naire moved beside him, her skin now almost ghostly pale. Can you show me their design? Jinho brought up a visual on the main screen. 3 sleek vessels, black as space itself with red markings along their hulls, were approaching rapidly. Inquisition ships, Naire whispered, her voice trembling. "The Order of Sacred Truth. They must have tracked my post." "Who are they?" Jinho asked, already activating the station's defense protocols. "The military arm of our High Council. They protect the purity of human teachings." Mei Rei's hands shook as she pointed to the largest ship. "That's the Purifier. They don't come to talk. They come to erase." Jinho made a quick decision. "We need to leave. Now, your ship. Is it space-worthy?" "Yes, the repairs are complete, but..." "No time to argue. Gather whatever you need. 5 minutes." As Mei Rei rushed to collect her belongings, Jinho recorded an emergency message to Earth Command, explaining the situation and attaching a copy of the viral post. He transmitted it on a secure channel, knowing it might take weeks to reach its destination. 4 minutes later, they were aboard Mei Rei's ship. Jinho had grabbed only his emergency kit and the station's backup data core. The sleek vessel hummed to life under Mei Rei's touch, its systems responding to commands she entered through both physical controls and the luminescent patterns on her skin. "They're hailing us," Jinho said, watching the communication panel. "Ignore it," Mei Rei replied, her focus intense. "Once they realize we won't surrender, they'll open fire." The ship lifted away from outpost horizon, just as the first energy pulse struck the station. Jinho watched through the rear viewer as his home for the past 3 years erupted in flames. Mei Rei guided the ship away at maximum speed, then activated a device Jinho didn't recognize. The stars around them seemed to stretch and bend. "Jump drive," she explained as reality itself appeared to fold around them. "We'll be halfway across the sector in moments." The sensation lasted only seconds, but Jinho's stomach lurched as normal space returned. They were now near an asteroid field he didn't recognize. "They'll follow," Mei Rei said grimly, already plotting another jump. "The Order has the best tracking technology on Meridia." Over the next 12 hours, they made 7 more jumps, each to a more remote location. Between the 4th and 5th jump, while hiding in the atmosphere of a gas giant, Mei Rei explained more. "The Order believes that only they can interpret the teachings of the ancient humans," she said as they watched swirling clouds outside. "If people learn humans are real beings of flesh and blood, not spiritual guides, the Order loses their power. Their entire authority comes from claiming special understanding of human wisdom." Jinho watched the sensor display nervously. "So they'd rather kill us both than let that truth spread." Mei Rei nodded. "The post has already been viewed billions of times. They can't erase it completely, but they can eliminate the source, us, and claim it was fabricated. But there must be others who would protect us," Jinho said. "If so many have seen the post, most species are curious, not helpful," Mei Rei replied. "And the Order has tremendous influence. They control the largest fleet in 3 sectors." A warning light flashed on the console. Mei Rei's hands moved quickly across the controls. "They found us again," she said quietly, ready for another jump. As the stars began to stretch around them once more, Jinho realized his quiet life of isolation was truly over. For better or worse, humanity's secret existence had just been broadcast to the entire galaxy. After 12 jumps through space and 3 close fights with the Inquisition ships, Jinho and Mei Rei found a hiding place. The abandoned mining station orbited a dead star, a white dwarf that gave off barely enough light to see by. The station was cold and empty, its corridors filled with dust and silence. "They won't look for us here," Mei Rei said as they settled in what had once been a control room. "This system was stripped of resources centuries ago. Nothing of value remains." Jinho nodded, too exhausted to speak. They had been running for almost 2 weeks. The close calls had left them both jumpy and tired. Mei Rei's ship was hidden in a small hangar, powered down to avoid detection. Once they had eaten and rested, Jinho unpacked the data core he had saved from Outpost Horizon. "I might be able to access Earth's network from here," he explained, connecting the device to the station's old communication array. Every outpost has emergency protocols for situations like this. Mei watched curiously as Jin-Ho typed in a series of long codes. "Will your people help us?" "If I can reach them," Jin-Ho said, not wanting to promise too much. The screen flickered, then displayed the Earth command symbol, a stylized blue planet with a silver ring. Jin-Ho entered more codes, each longer and more complex than the last. Finally, the system granted him access to restricted files. "I didn't know I had clearance for this level," he murmured, scrolling through the database. Mei moved closer, her eyes wide, as she watched unfamiliar symbols flow across the screen. "What are you looking for?" "Information about first contact protocols. Maybe something about your people." Jin-Ho opened file after file, going deeper into the system. Then he found it. A folder marked Project Observer. Inside were thousands of documents dating back nearly 5,000 years. Jin-Ho opened the first one, titled Prometheus Incident Report. As he read, the color drained from his face. Mei touched his arm gently. "What's wrong?" she asked. Jin-Ho pointed to the screen, his hand shaking slightly. The isolation wasn't an accident. It was a choice, a deliberate policy called Project Observer. The files told a story Jin-Ho had never learned in his training. During humanity's early exploration of space, they had encountered many developing civilizations. Some of these encounters went well. Others ended in disaster. The Prometheus mission to what was now Meridian space had been one such disaster. The crew had indeed saved the Meridians from a deadly plague, just as Mei's legends described. But their intervention had massive unintended consequences. Their advanced technology and medical knowledge had been seen as miraculous. As the files detailed, within a generation after the Prometheus departed, war broke out among the Meridians as different groups fought for control of human relics and the right to interpret human teachings. Similar problems had occurred with other species. Some became dependent on human technology they didn't understand. Others developed dangerous religious cults around human visitors. In response, Earth's leaders had created Project Observer, a plan to step back from direct contact with developing species. Humanity would watch but not engage, allowing younger civilizations to grow at their own pace without interference. "We've been watching," Jin-Ho whispered, scrolling through images of thousands of worlds and species he never knew existed. "For millennia. Learning. Waiting." Mei's luminescent patterns pulsed with confusion. Waiting for what? Jin-Ho read further, searching for an answer. "The files don't say exactly. There are references to sufficient maturity and galactic readiness, but no specific criteria." He looked up at Mei. I think we were waiting for other species to reach a point where meeting us wouldn't harm their development." Mei frowned. "Your people made themselves into myths to protect us." "Yes, the occasional accidental contact was allowed to fade into legend." Jin-Ho gestured to more files. "Earth has been documenting thousands of civilizations, collecting vast knowledge about the galaxy. We became observers instead of participants." Jin-Ho opened a map showing human outposts and observation points, a vast hidden network stretching across the galaxy. Each point marked a human station like his own, monitoring neighboring systems and species without revealing themselves. "All this time," he said, "I thought I was just a lonely researcher. But I was part of something much bigger, a galaxy-wide anthropology project." Mei touched the screen, her fingers tracing the network of hidden human watchers. "This explains so much about our legends, the occasional sightings over centuries, the brief encounters that were never repeated." Jin-Ho continued reading, absorbing the truth about humanity's secret role in the galaxy. The more he learned, the more troubled he became. "This policy might have made sense 5,000 years ago," he said finally, "but it's gone on too long. We've been hiding when we could have been helping." He turned to Mei, determination in his eyes. "I don't know what Earth Command will say, but I believe the time for hiding is over. especially now that your Starstream post has been seen across half the galaxy. Myra's skin brightened with hope. What will you do? Jinho began downloading the files to a portable device. First, we need to reach a human border station. From there, I can make a stronger case to Earth Command. He smiled slightly. Your viral post may have forced our hand, but maybe that's not such a bad thing. A sudden alarm from their ship interrupted them. 3 vessels had entered the system. The order found us again, Myra said, her voice tight with fear. Jinho grabbed the data device, shoving it into his pocket. They're persistent, I'll give them that. As they rushed toward their ship, Jinho realized that the conflict between hiding and revealing was about to reach its breaking point. One way or another, humanity's long isolation was coming to an end. After 3 weeks of running and hiding, Jinho and Myra finally reached safety. Their ship, damaged from the last battle with the Inquisition vessels, limped into the docking bay of Perimeter Station Alpha. This was the outermost human facility in this sector of space, a place Jinho had only heard about in briefings. As they stepped from their ship, a team of security officers met them. The officers looked at Myra with open curiosity. Most had never seen a Meridian before. Commander Park, a stern-faced woman said, stepping forward, I am Captain Sun He. Follow me. They were led to a plain meeting room. Captain Sun He did not speak until the doors closed behind them. You've caused quite a problem, Commander, she said, her voice cold. Earth Command has been in chaos since your emergency transmission. Jinho stood tall despite his exhaustion. This is Myra. She needs protection. The Meridian Inquisition is hunting her because of me. Sun He barely glanced at Myra. We know. We've tracked your journey here. You're lucky to be alive. She activated a screen on the wall. Earth Command wants to speak with you directly. The screen flickered to life, showing 5 serious faces. The Earth Command Council. Jinho had never seen them before except in official photographs. Commander Park, the oldest member, said, You've broken our most important rule. Project Observer has maintained peace for thousands of years. And now this. The council member gestured, and Myra's viral post appeared beside him. Billions have seen this. The damage is extensive. Sun He nodded. Standard procedure would be to erase the Meridian's memories and return her with a cover story. We have the technology. Myra's skin patterns flashed with fear. She stepped back, bumping against the wall. No, Jinho said firmly, moving to stand between Myra and Sun He. That time has passed. The Meridian Order knows about us now. The post has reached too many worlds. We can't hide this truth anymore. Sun He's expression hardened. It's not your decision to make. Maybe it should be, Jinho replied. He turned to the screen. With respect, Earth Command is divided on this issue. I can see it in your faces. Some of you want to maintain isolation. Others think it's time for change. The council members glanced at each other. The oldest one sighed. You're right, Commander. This situation has created a split in our thinking. That's why we want to hear your perspective. You've spent time with the Meridian. You've seen the impact of our policy firsthand. Jinho took a deep breath. This was his chance. Humanity has been a ghost story for too long, he began. We've watched other species struggle with problems we could have solved. Myra's people worship us for one act of kindness from 5,000 years ago. Think what real cooperation could do. He showed them the files he had downloaded, explaining what he had learned about Project Observer. As he spoke, Myra's skin patterns glowed with support. The galaxy is ready, Jinho finished. And thanks to Myra's post, they already know we exist. We can either hide and be hunted, or step forward and be welcomed. The council went silent, conferring privately. While they waited, alarms sounded throughout the station. 3 Meridian vessels have appeared at the edge of our space, Sun He reported after checking her device. They're demanding we turn over the imposter and the false human. Jinho and Myra exchanged worried glances. The Inquisition had found them again. "Let me talk to them," one council member suggested. "This situation is remarkable. They deny our existence while communicating with us." What followed was strange indeed. The Human Council spoke with the Meridian Inquisitors, who insisted humans were mythical beings even as they argued with actual humans. The contradiction seemed to confuse the Inquisitors themselves. "This is madness," Jinho said quietly to Mireille. "They can't accept the truth even when it's right in front of them." After 2 hours of debate, the Earth Council reached a decision. The oldest member faced Jinho and Mireille. "We agree that Project Observer has run its course. The time for isolation is over. Humanity will reveal itself to the galaxy, starting with a formal message acknowledging our existence." Jinho felt a weight lift from his shoulders. Mireille's skin glowed brighter than he had ever seen. Over the next few days, Jinho and Mireille worked together to craft the perfect message. When it was ready, they sent it through all Starstream channels, building on the interest Mireille's original post had created. "To all thinking beings who have wondered about humans, Terrans, or shepherds, we are real. We have been watching, learning, and waiting. We regret our long absence, but we are ready to join our galactic family. We come in peace and hope for understanding." The response was overwhelming. Questions flooded in from thousands of worlds. The Meridian Inquisition ships retreated in confusion as their own people demanded answers. 1 month later, Jinho and Mireille sat in a new diplomatic center on Perimeter Station Alpha. The station had been transformed into humanity's first official contact point with other species. Jinho and Mireille had become the faces of this new era, answering questions daily on a Starstream forum called "We Are Human and Meridian. Ask Us Anything." As they prepared for another session, Jinho turned to Mireille. "Do you ever regret posting that first picture of me?" he asked. "It changed both our lives forever." Mireille's skin patterns formed gentle waves of light, her version of a smile. "How could I regret the post that changed the galaxy?" she said. "Besides, it got more attention than any post in Starstream history." Jinho laughed. Despite coming from different worlds, some things were the same everywhere, including the small pride that came from going viral across the stars. The end.